She talks about life. She'll help you work it out by working inside. She talks about everything you want to know and more.
Let's talk about it.
Conversations with Shelly. She talks about everything you want to know. So open up the door to conversations with Shelly. She talks about everything you want to know and more. Let's talk about it.
And now your host, Shelly Sanders.
Good afternoon, Facebook fam and YouTube audience. Welcome to Conversations with Shelly. My name is Michelle Sanders, and I am your host for today's conversation. How is everyone doing on this beautiful Sunday afternoon? I tell you, you know what we're doing here. I call it, and we all call it, Tampa Bay. Yes, bragging rights again, because we put the Dallas Cowboys on notice. Yes, we beat them. Yes, we did. On this past week, yes, we did. We beat them. Anyway, my brothers, them boys were stomped down. And I know you guys are going to say, as we say, you know, Tampa Bay made a number of mistakes and everything, but a win is a win. And we sent you guys packing back to Texas. You got to be ready when you come to Florida, because guess what? We're going to fire the cannons and we're going to raise the flag. So, yes, congratulations, Buccaneers. We're starting our season off winning, and we are winners. And, yes, we're going to get another Super Bowl championship. That's right. I said it. Yes, I said it. Another Super Bowl championship. So get ready. All right. So with that, I had to have my bragging rights for a little bit, and I know that I'm going to get some flack for it, but oh, well, why not? So welcome again to Conversations with Shelly. My name is Michelle, and I'm having a good time already. So, guys, as you all know, we're going to talk about it, and that's what we do. And so we've switched on to our new series, Health. It's a mind and body thing. Yes, it is. And we're going to have a number of professionals to come on and share with you. We know that we're in a society that we're dealing with a lot with COVID-19, and we want to deal with our health. So we know that sometimes there's going to be situations that happen. There's going to be pandemics, but we want to make sure that we are healthy across the board, healthy mentally, healthy physically, healthy emotionally. So we're going to tap that across the board, and we're going to touch a number of areas in this series. So I'm glad you guys have tuned in. And with that, when there's something good, you guys know when your mom making that good macaroni and cheese and, you know, collard greens, and she makes that good, those turkey wings, you know, like they do down here at Burning Barbecue here in Progress Village. I tell you, you want to share it with everybody. So this is going to be a great conversation, and guess what? We would like for you to like, share, and subscribe. We're out there on YouTube, Soul Cafe, SOULKAFERM for Real Ministries. Make sure you subscribe, and make sure you like and you share Facebook Live that's going on today. All right, so you guys know the first person who goes out and shares this live with your social media platform comes back into the comment section and types SCWC, Share Conversations with Shelly, will win our beautiful wine glass with our logo on it. So go out and share. Make sure you subscribe as well. So again, guys, as I said, we have a show for you today, and we're going to be talking about health over these next few weeks. And we're going to be talking about mental health, physical health, as I said, emotional. It's a mind and it's a body thing. And guess what, guys? We have to make sure we're taking care of our minds and we're taking care of our bodies, right? So there's something that we're required to do, and we must do that. And we have today some awesome guests that are educated and they are experienced in these particular areas, so that Michelle Morton and also Christopher Tunstall will be here, and I'll introduce them in a little bit. But as you guys know, I love to bring everybody in on the same page, so I like to provide a little bit of history of things that's going on so you can understand where we're going. So a little bit here from the National Center of Health Statistics, Centers of Disease Control, Health and Blacks of African American and non-Hispanic population. Just a few stats here. That the health status says that the percent of adults ages 18 and older is in fair or poor health condition. Can I get my production team here to help? Thank you. So it says that the percentage of adults ages 18 and over in fair or poor health conditions is 20%, 20.2%. The percentage of children health age 18 in fair or poor health is 3.7%. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry, guys. Just got to get something hooked up a little bit, and I'm going to switch over. All right. One more moment. Let me share some other stats that I want to call out. Hold on one moment. All right. So, Mental Health America, the state of mental health in America, 2021, the state of mental health in America. Some key findings that I guess you guys will find very interesting. And I know when we bring on Christopher and we bring on Michelle, they're going to be able to talk to us a little bit more about this particular area as far as youth mental health. So some key findings that from the Mental Health of America, 2021. Youth mental health is worsening. 9.7% of our youth in the U.S. have severe major depression compared to 9.2% in last year's data set. This rate was highest among youth who identify as more than one race at 12.4%. Even before COVID-19, the prevalence of mental health illness among adults was increasing. It says in 2017 and 2019, there was 19% of adults experienced a mental illness or increase of 1.5 million people over the last year in the data set. Suicidal ideation among adults is increasing, it says. The percentage of adults in the U.S. who are experiencing serious thoughts of suicide increased from 0.15% from 2016, 2017 through 2018, says that an additional 460,000 people from last year's data set. So there was a 0.15% increase over the last 4 years. There is still unmet need for mental health treatment, it says, among youth and adults. 60% of youth with major depression did not receive any mental health treatment 2017, 2018. Even in states with the greatest access, over 38% are not receiving the mental health services they need. Among youth with severe depression, only 27.3% receive consistent treatment, and 23.6% of adults with a mental illness reported an unmet need for treatment. The numbers have not declined. They continue to move forward and continue to increase. And lastly, it says the percentage of adults with a mental illness who are uninsured increased for the first time since the passage of the Affordable Care Act. So nationally, it talks about the uninsured of 10.8%. And so we have the increase in mental illness among youth and among adults. And then we also have services that are not being provided to our youth and adults. And then also now the increase as far as adults not having insurance. And so it also mentions that the number of people looking for help with anxiety and depression has skyrocketed. So it talks about last year how it went up to 315,220 people took anxiety screens, and 93% increase over 2019 as far as anxiety screens. So it says 537,784 people took depression screens, and 62% increase of depression screens. So guys, we have some issues going on. And so we have the experts on to talk to us about it, Christopher and Michelle. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about Michelle. Michelle Morton, poet she is. Michelle Morton was born in Tampa, Florida. She received her bachelor's degree in communications with a minor in journalism and disciplinary studies. Michelle has experience working in the political news arena of broadcast television in Washington, D.C. In addition, she received her master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. She moved back to Tampa 4 years ago with the mission to use the tools she learned to restore and build her community. Michelle is an advocate, clinical therapist, coach, writer, spoken word artist, and speaker. Her passion is to serve the young girls and women of her community. She is a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and in 2018, Michelle founded As She Speaks Coaching. As She Speaks Coaching is dedicated to helping women fulfill their calling and purpose. In addition, Michelle Morton, poet she is, was once the co-host of Poetry Is on 88.5 FM, WMNF in Tampa, Florida. She is also a former member and poet from Black on Black Rhymes. Her purpose and mission is to help women find their voice, heal, and walk in the fullness of their calling. Has successfully she has successfully had ongoing events such as She Speaks, open mic, and mental health and writing workshops. As She Speaks, open mic was nominated by Creative Loafing Best of the Bay magazine as one of the top open mics. In addition, Michelle was featured Creative Loafing for her open mic. As She Speaks, open mic is the only all-women's open mic in Tampa, Florida. So with that, Facebook fam and YouTube audience, please help me welcome to our platform today, Michelle Morton. Hi, Michelle, are you there? Make sure you're unmuted.
Hi, everyone. How is everyone doing? I'm Michelle Morton, founder of As She Speaks Coaching, also known to the poetry community as Poet She Is, and I'm very delighted to be here today.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you. Is there anything else, Michelle? You have a beautiful bio, as you've read, very extensive experience in education, but is there anything else that you would like to share with our Facebook and YouTube audience?
Yes, so pretty much all of my career, I've worked in nonprofit, the jail. I've also worked in human trafficking agency, group
Wow.
homes. Currently, I have switched over to teletherapy, which is a really awesome experience as a clinical therapist, and I've been in the field for 6 years. So I combine poetry and mental health together along with my background in communication. And it's just been a true honor and pleasure to serve the Tampa Bay area and the Florida community as well as virtual within the platform of mental health and the arts.
Good stuff. Thank you. And I would just ask that you just increase your volume just a little bit so we can make sure we're
Oh, of
hearing that
course,
beautiful
yes.
voice. So you said that you mentioned human trafficking. So was that
Yes.
assisting there when you were in Florida or in DC?
When I worked in a human trafficking agency, I was in Fort Myers. I lived there for about 10 years, where I received there my bachelor's and master's. So when I was in my master's program, I actually was working at a before I started my master's program, actually, I was working in a human trafficking agency.
Got you. Thank you, Michelle. So with that, you have this handsome young man sitting next to you, Mr. Christopher Tunstall. So I'm going to share a little bit about him. And Christopher, we're going to welcome you on. Christopher Tunstall has served in the field of social services for the past 15 years. Christopher began volunteering with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Habitat for Humanity, faith-based organizations, as well as the City Council of Sarasota on a youth advisory board while in high school. As a sophomore in high school, Christopher was selected to meet with city congressmen to discuss culture, activities among the youth, and brainstorm solutions to mitigate negative adolescent behaviors within Sarasota County. After high school, Christopher obtained his Bachelor's of Science degree in Human Services from the College of Behavioral Sciences while at Southeastern University located in Lakeland, Florida. This gave opportunity for Christopher to serve as a licensed child welfare case manager throughout Hillsborough County. In addition to child welfare, Mr. Tunstall has worked in mental health, behavioral health, and juvenile justice. Currently, Mr. Tunstall is the founder and director of Winner's Circle, an organization geared towards mentoring adolescents and young adults to achieve success and fulfill their destiny in life. With his experience and role as a mentor, pastor, and chaplain, Mr. Tunstall hopes to motivate, educate, and inspire his community by cultivating vision, purpose, dreams, and the drive to succeed. Christopher, are you out there?
Yes, ma'am. I am here. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Tunstall. I am the founder and director of TWC, also known as the Winner Circle Mentor Program, founded here in Hillsborough County. The purpose of our program is to motivate, educate, and inspire youth and young adults that are in hardship to overcome their hardships, identify who they are as an individual, and pursue their purpose in life.
Good stuff, Chris. Anything else you would like to share? You have family in the area? Were you born and raised here?
Yes, I do have family in the area, have family throughout Tampa Bay. I was actually born in Germany. My father was in the military. We moved to the States when we were really young. I had the opportunity to live in St. Petersburg, Sarasota, and after Sarasota, I moved here to Tampa, Florida, where I started college at HCC. After HCC, I moved on to SCU. But yes, I do have family still down in Sarasota. We go down every now and then. I have a brother that's out in Alabama. I have
Mhm.
family here that's immediately in the Ruskin, Tampa, Brandon area as well. That's what.
Thank you. I am so glad, first of all, and so honored to have both of you here in conversation with Shelley. And what I think as you all as young people, the impact that you're making on the community, and that you're giving back, and that you're helping within our community. And as I was reading some of the stats, let's talk a little bit, because I was seeing here where it says young people are struggling the most with their mental health. And so that's the area it seems that you guys are really targeted in, females, young people, and your work there. So tell me about, I would like to know, like I said, this is an open, honest conversation, authentic conversation. So we want it real. So let us know, our audience, because they like to engage and ask questions. So Michelle and Chris, you know, whoever wants to take it first. Tell me a little bit about how did you get involved, and the reason that you got involved into the area of social work and in counseling and behavioral-based counseling as well. Talk to me a little bit about your passion for it.
Well, growing up, I know for myself personally, I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. So I personally went through the Hillsborough County school system. And there were a lot of things that I experienced as a teenager, a lot of things that I learned from. So I think it started there, that I wanted to help my community because I was part of that community. I moved away at 18, but then God brought me back here because He wanted me to share my testimony of what I personally went through while I was in school, and learning differently and having to fight for the injustice that children go through when they're labeled in Hillsborough County. Not just in Hillsborough County, but in school in general, a child can be labeled wrong. So I think for my personal experience, after I was done with my bachelor's, I found that going to DC really showed me the political side, and also
Mm-hmm.
showed me how there is injustice and how teenagers have a voice, but they need to be heard. So going to the political scenery and actually experiencing it, like at the White House, Capitol Hill, doing interviews with congressmen, seeing how DC was ran, how our country is ran, really puts a fire in my soul to really start getting acclimated and actually getting involved far beyond just being a journalist. So that's when I decided to go get my master's in clinical mental health counseling, which I really thought would never happen. I thought I was going to be a political, analyst. That was my dream. But I really found it that I needed to do something more. So I actually decided to become a clinical therapist. And from there, I stuck on the track of working with teenagers. So that's in the jail system. I've been in the jail system. I've done
Mm-hmm.
substance at camps. I've done group homes where I worked there, and then also working within the school system. I was a clinical therapist as well.
So Michelle, I'm going to go here, and I hope that you can share. You talked about your own testimony, and I think it's nothing, definitely better than sharing where you have been, so our audience can relate, and young people that's listening to this can relate. Can you share a little bit about your testimony and what you've gone through, and then we'll come back to you, Chris, and ask you the same thing as far as your motivation and then your testimony as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, throughout the public school system, I really struggled with, I think a lot of youth struggle with identity. And one of the things that I was trying to learn was the way that I learned. And so I had to learn the way that I learned, but I felt that throughout school, the way that I learned was not as accepted as it is in today's society. So personally, for me, learning the way that I learned back when I was in school was a difficulty. And I believe that labels were placed on me as a teenager, as a child. And in that hardship, it made it very difficult for me to learn. So I was taught to learn the way that the school system wanted me to learn. Because back then, there weren't as many rights and education about how people learn differently, such as a kinesthetic learner, if you can hear, if you visualize, or if you have to touch. So back then, the Child Act, well, the political act, the Child Left Behind Act was passing when I was in school, and at the time, I felt like I was battling with being held back or going forward, and I battled with that back and forth. I knew that I could pass because I definitely did well in the private school setting because it's a lot smaller and then you're given more attention. But when you're in the public school system, it's different. It's a lot more children, and teachers can only do so much. And shout out to all the
Right.
teachers because they are amazing. So, if a child learns differently, which I did, everyone learns differently in the classroom, literally. If everyone was tested, everyone would be able to see that every child learns differently. But if that child cannot catch on to that learning style, they're held back and then they're labeled. And I experienced that. But shout out to my mom and dad, they both advocated for my education and taught me, especially how I should learn. My mother was very big on that as she has done so much in the community with youth already. So she taught me how to learn and the way I needed to learn so that I could be successful. But I really do believe if I didn't have so much support and the research and everything like that done and I didn't have that background, a lot of my experience could have been like how a lot of the children have been left behind because they're being labeled and they're not given the proper tools that they need to be successful to learn the way that they need to learn.
So, Michelle, what was the label that they gave you?
Some of the labels were, try to a lot of doctors sometimes misdiagnose. So just trying to put diagnosing labels that were not completely true. Like I said, if you're not being taught the way that you learn, of course they're trying to find out what can be done to help you or to find a way to get you through or putting something on you. So just misdiagnosis, things like that. So that was a challenge. And the type of mother that I have, she's like, no, this she is intelligent. This is what she is. So my mother continued, my mom and my dad both continued to put in me what I was. So I struggled with going and believing what the labels were that the school system did, but I didn't believe in it because I didn't entirely believe in it because my mother and my dad kept hounding, this is what you are, this is what you're going to become. And so because of
Right.
that, that's how I succeeded because I didn't listen to what other people were saying.
Thanks for sharing that. Chris, talk to us about your motivation there and anything you want to share about your own story.
My motivation as to being in the field.
Yes.
Okay. My motivation to being in the field has to do with my heart for what I see. I see a lot of youth. Yeah, I see a lot of young men, a lot of young women that are coming up and they're confused, lost. Um, they have misguidance, and the potential of who they truly are or what they can truly achieve, they're not succeeding to that, or they're not focused on who they truly are or what their potential is, and it's simply because what's wrapped around in society. It could be issues with the mental health. It could be issues with trauma. It could be issues within the home. All those are
Hmm.
layers and barriers to a child that they themselves have to overcome in order to still find out who they are, so they can become a well-developed adult. I myself, my testimony, I have struggled with a lot. I've had sexual trauma as a child, which affected me heavily when I got into my teen years and knowing who I was, identifying myself. So going through that identity crisis, I've been there. Having to deal with the rejection, um, I've been there. Not having healthy peer relationships, communication, shutting self out. I've been there, and part of the effects that it had on me as a adolescent, um, I used food a lot and isolating myself as a uh, as a comfort, you know. And there was a time in my life where I think I was like maybe 16 or 17 years old. I think height wise, I was like 5'10", maybe 5'11". Weight wise, I was like 245, 250 pounds, you know.
Yeah.
So that's a key sign, you know, of depression. I didn't, and you know, sometimes in our culture, we don't do therapists, we don't do psychology,
Right.
we don't do
Right.
none of that. All we do is Jesus, you know. So I wasn't diagnosed with anything during those years, but in retrospect and looking back and my behaviors, how I communicated, I can identify now that I went through some depression. And the depression that I
Yeah.
went through had to deal with the traumas that I was going through. And the traumas that I went through, I wasn't comfortable with opening up and communicating and talking about it because of rejection, you know, and that part of what I have been through is my foundation and my um, solitude of motivation to do what I do now. You know, I've
Yeah.
had the opportunity to work in child welfare, to work in DJJ, to volunteer with churches, big brothers, big sisters. And you know, when I've been in these group homes or in these mental health wards for adolescents, it's like I see my hurt. I see myself, you know, and I started right out of high school. I'm 32 now, so that's like what, 14, 15 years. So I saw my hurt in these kids, and it's like, wow, you know. Out on a side note, Mel, did you say something?
No. Yeah. I just wanted to say that's why I was. Important. I wanted you guys to share your story because you've been the experience, and then now to have, you know, the education and the training and expertise on top of it. There are things that you can recognize, you know, when our kids are labeled as disruptive or troublemakers and things like that, that is something probably going on behind the scenes that if no one takes the time to notice and deal with it, then those kids are lost, right? And end up being in different kind of situations that's not healthy for anyone, and that can be quite. So